Morning. The reading today is taken from the book of Habakkuk, chapter 1, verses 1 to 4. The oracle Habakkuk the prophet saw. O Lord, how long should I cry for help and you will not hear, or cry to you violence and you will not save? Why do you make me see iniquity, and why do you idly look at wrong? Destruction and violence are before me, strife and contention arise. So the law is paralyzed, and justice never goes forth. For the wicked surroundeth the righteous, so justice go forth perverted. Amen.
Morning to all. You see a drawing up here, and this was done a little bit over 100 years ago. It's called The Iniquitous Judge. It's by Eugene Bernand. He was a Swiss artist. He started out as an architect, but he enjoyed much more drawing and painting, and so he moved into that field. He was active in the latter half of the 19th century, but as often happens, many artists, as they get older, they turn to religious topics. There's something about the artistic mind, and people want to turn towards God. And so Bernard wanted to illustrate some of the parables of Jesus. And this is the iniquitous judge. You see him there. He's a man of status, has his white robes. And you see a poor widow coming to him, and she's pleading her case. But he doesn't appear to be interested. He isn't interested. He actually just wishes she would go away. He doesn't want to listen to her. He doesn't want to give her justice. That's too much work for him. The iniquitous judge. I'm starting off by talking about him, but we will later on switch over to this poor widow woman a little bit later on. So keep this in mind. And I'll be referring to this occasionally. So here we have him not listening. He has the power in his hand, but he's just going to do nothing and hope she goes away and forgets about him. And this is the way that many people in our society view God. Oh, they believe in God. They think he's there. They see the world around about us. We know that we've been made by him. They believe in the creator, but why would he be interested in us? We're just mere mortals. We're nothing, a speck of dust, and he has the whole cosmos before him. Why would he care for us? And so this morning we were asking the question, is God silent? Or is God distant? Because many people think God is distant. Why bother talking to him? Why try to reach out to him? And the reading that was given to us by Habakkuk seems to indicate that the prophet had the same question, the same problem with God. He says, "O Lord, how long shall I cry for help and you will not listen?" So does God listen? Or how do we respond to God when he apparently doesn't listen? Habakkuk is just a short book, only 3 chapters long. It's called a minor prophet, as opposed to the major prophets, which have many, many chapters. But the message here is not minor. It's an important lesson for all of us. And we see here not so much a prediction of the future or a call for people to turn to God, as we do in many of the other prophets. We see here instead the prophet questioning God, asking God, Lord, don't you listen? Lord, don't you see what is going on in this world? It's a violent world. And this is about the real world. It's about his own world, the violence that he sees round about him. And I'm sure that we ourselves can identify with this. We turn on the news, CH in the morning or in the evening, and you hear about stabbings or shootings. And what is going on here? Why is this going on? And Habakkuk is mostly interested in his own town. He's not interested in world events, the other side of the world. although we certainly can get concerned about those because we see them on the news as well. And Habakkuk just doesn't understand. And if you're like me, you also don't understand. We just look at events in the world and it leaves us shaking our head. And he is able to ask a question of God. And we can ask God questions as well, but sometimes we don't realize that he's answering us, or we think that he is not answering us. And so we ask this question, Lord, why don't you listen? Are you distant? Are you away? How long? Now, Habakkuk's initial problem is not, does God listen or not? It's the violence that he sees around about him. And Habakkuk was active during the time of Jeremiah. And if we take a look at some of the events in Jeremiah, we see that Jerusalem, the city of God, Judah, which is supposedly being led by God, is a very violent place. And one of Habakkuk's associates, Uriah in Jeremiah, predicts and prophesies, and the king doesn't like it, and he wants him killed. And so Uriah flees to Egypt. But even there, he's not safe in Egypt because Jeconiah sends some men out to get him. They capture him, they bring him back, and he is killed. And Jeremiah also had his life in danger, but he was protected, but he had narrow escapes as well. So Habakkuk is probably looking at this. He knows about this. And so he cries out, "Oh Lord, how long?" Now, I think it's pretty safe for us to say that it's not that he just said a prayer in the morning and then by the evening the prayer is not answered. He may have been praying to God for days, weeks, months, perhaps even years. Again, he says, "Lord, how long, and you will not listen? I cry out to you, violence, and you will not save." So there's no help for this violence, and he can't figure it out. And so he's asking the Lord, what is going on here, O Lord? Now, perhaps you've asked prayers of God, and you wonder, has he heard you? Is he prepared to answer you? Or are you like this widow, and you get the impression that he's not interested? He doesn't care about human beings. He doesn't care about you. He seems distant, and nothing seems to change. And you make your requests to God, and he doesn't seem to answer them. There's no answer. You are not alone. Everybody in this room has experienced this. Habakkuk shows that even 2,500 years ago, people were asking God, "How long, O Lord? Why don't you do something?" Even before Habakkuk, we go to the Psalms. Psalm 6, Psalm 13, Psalm 35, Psalm 74, Psalm 79. I could go all the way through. Even in Zechariah, there's an angel who asks the Lord, "How long, O Lord? It's been 70 years, and these people in Judah, you haven't seemed to answer them yet." And last year we did a study on the book of Revelation in our midweek Bible study. Revelation 6, you have the redeemed, the saints, and they're crying out to Lord, "How long, Lord? There's violence going on here. How long? Will you not do something?" We had a fine speech around the Lord's table just a few minutes ago. God so loved the world that he sent his son. God is not distant. He's reaching down to us. Surely things were different then, were they not, when Jesus was here? I'd like you, first of all, to consider Mary and Martha, two wonderful, godly women, beloved by Jesus. And they had a brother, Lazarus. And Lazarus was also a close friend of Jesus. And yet, in John 11, when Jesus is asked, "Come and heal the one that you love, he's sick," the implication is, well, we know, Jesus, you can heal him. Come, heal Lazarus. Jesus delays. And even his disciples ask, "Well, aren't you going to go and see Lazarus?" No. And Lazarus dies. And the first thing that the sister says when she meets Jesus, "Lord, why didn't you come?" She's implying, did you not listen? Are you not paying attention? And then the next sister sees Jesus, same question. So they're implying here that you, Jesus, didn't even listen to your closest friends. Why didn't you do something? Can't you fix things? We know you can. Why didn't you? Habakkuk 1 and 3. Why do you make me see wrongdoing and look at trouble? Destruction and violence are before me. Strife and contention arise. Habakkuk knows that God doesn't approve of this. He's holy, he's pure, he's perfect righteousness. So why, Lord, are you letting me see this? Why are we all seeing this? Where are you? Can't you do something? Can't you fix things? Again, a few months ago, we had a lesson about Elijah and that contest between the prophets of Baal and Carmel. Now, did Baal answer those prophets? Not at all. But what did God do? What did Yahweh do? When Elijah cried out to God, fire came down, and that convinced the people temporarily. Yes, God does answer. Yes, God can step in. But did that convince Elijah for the rest of his life? We see in the next chapter, he's fleeing for his life from Jezebel, and he cries out to God. And he says, Lord, I did this and I did that, and I alone am left. And now Jezebel is out to kill me. Where are you, God? Woe is me, I am all alone. God did answer Elijah in that still small voice. And here's Habakkuk crying out, where are you, God? The problem really is not this violence. It's that God doesn't seem to be doing anything, and Habakkuk doesn't understand it. And we can identify so much with Habakkuk. How many times have you said a prayer and it's not answered yet, or not answered in the way that we think it should be answered? And how many times have you heard people say, if there really is a God, or if he really does care about us, God needs to do this, God needs to do that. Here we are, the created beings, thinking we know better than what God knows. We see the problem, and we don't seem to see God doing anything. And that is what Habakkuk says. He says, I see violence and destruction before me. And because he sees violence and destruction, he says in verse 4, the law becomes slack. Your law, God, God's law is slack. It's useless. Justice never prevails. Just interesting here because justice is not prevailing for this woman. And we're getting to her. We're getting close to her now. Therefore, judgment comes forth perverted. Now we know God is holy. God is right. How can it be that he is allowing justice to run by the way, to not be done? It takes a long time for justice to come about sometimes. So the land is in a mess because God is doing nothing as far as Habakkuk thinks. But this is only the opening. This is only the opening to this dialogue between Habakkuk and God. And God is going to give some answers. We're not going to look at them just today, but we will be looking at them. So, what can we learn from Habakkuk? Well, first and foremost, whatever happens in your life, God is interested. And you need to pray your doubts. You need to pray your confusion to him. He wants to hear your frustrations. He knows that you have them, but he still wants you to go to him. In the midweek Bible study, we are praying at the end of every session for people, and we just had a remarkable answer to prayer. We've been praying for 2 years, and finally that answer came about. Sometimes it takes a while. Now back to Jesus. What does he teach us? We're taking a look now at this parable that Bernard tried to portray here. Luke 18. Jesus told them a parable about their need to pray always and not to lose heart. Does this parable not apply to Habakkuk? Can we not see it right now? Jesus realizes that we lose heart when we don't see God acting, when we apparently don't see God acting. And he says, don't lose heart. Now, who are you going to trust? yourself and the people around about you who, if you can't get something done in 5 minutes, just give it up? Or are you going to trust Jesus? Don't lose heart. You need to pray always, which is what Habakkuk is doing, but he's starting to lose heart. And Jesus tells him this parable now. In a certain city, there was a judge who neither feared God nor had respect for people, which is probably why this painting is called the iniquitous judge. We expect a judge is supposed to respect the rights of people round about him. But he doesn't. He doesn't care for God. He doesn't care for people. He cares for himself. He's a selfish man. This could be called the selfish judge as well, or the deaf judge. In that city, there was a widow. Widows, as we all know, are very vulnerable, especially in the day of Jesus. They don't have somebody to stand up and represent them. And here we see the widow dressed in black, as we might expect. Whether that was the case back then or not, it doesn't matter. We still get the idea. She's in mourning. She's a widow. We don't know what her case is, but she comes to the judge and she's pleading and she's begging with the judge. Grant me justice against my opponent. For a while he refused, and we see it here. But later on he said to himself, though I have no fear of God and no respect for anyone, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will grant her justice so that she may not wear me out by continually coming. Very poor motives indeed. I'll help you out, not because I love you, not because I love justice, not because I respect or agree with your case, just so that you go away and don't bother me. The Lord said, listen to what the unjust judge says. We can learn from our enemies. We can learn from wicked people. Listen to what this guy says. Will not God grant justice to his chosen ones who cry to him day and night? Will he delay long in helping them? Now, Jesus is not saying that God is an unjust judge, not at all. His focus is on the widow. Listen to this. I tell you, he will quickly grant justice to them, to his chosen ones who cry to him day and night. You cry to God, you trust in God. You don't just say it once. Day and night you're praying and you're crying to God. He will come quickly and grant justice to them. And yet when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth? Sometimes we forget our idea of time and God's idea of time are a lot different. We truly are children. And for the parents here, or even for those who are not parents, think back to when you were a kid. If you're asking your mom or dad, can I have an ice cream cone? And it's half an hour before supper, they're going to tell you no. You might eventually get it, but they know a whole lot better than the child does. How many times have you in your past thought of making a ridiculous request to your parents and they don't give it to you? You're not mad at your parents now, are you? Or for your own children, when they ask and bug you for something and you don't give it to them, are you being mean? Are you not listening to the child? God knows best. And sometimes we forget that. And our idea of time and God's great scope of how things are being played out is different. God will answer our prayers, and he will answer quickly. So the message here is do not give up on praying. 1 Thessalonians 5, pray without ceasing. Habakkuk, you're praying to God. Continue to pray to God. So that's the first lesson. Don't lose heart. Continue to pray. God cares. God is not distant as you might think. But the second point that we can learn from Habakkuk here is do not misinterpret the silence. How can you read what silence means? You can't. God may not answer the prayer today, but that doesn't mean he didn't hear your prayer. That doesn't mean he doesn't care. That deafening silence doesn't mean that he wants to erode our faith. It rather means that he wants to encourage us. He wants to build our character. He wants to challenge us. He wants to strengthen us. Philippians 4:6. Do not worry about anything. Sounds like something Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount. And yet we still worry. We are still anxious. But in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. I hope you caught that. We're talking about adjectives, the importance of words. By prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known to God. So think about your prayers. God, I got a problem. Help me with this. God, I got a problem. I need you. Help me with this. God, why aren't you doing this? Where's the thanksgiving? Are you starting off by thanking God? I had a problem last week, Lord, and you solved it for me. Thank you. Oh, and look at this friend that's come along with whatever. Oh, and I just got whatever. How many times do we neglect to thank God? But we're right there. God, help me out. Help me out, God. So what's the message this morning? How can I sum this up? Pray persistently. When you are afflicted, pray. When you're anxious, keep praying. If you're confused, as Habakkuk is, by what's going on around about you, pray. When you are doubting, keep praying. If you don't understand, Habakkuk doesn't understand. Do we understand what's going on? Pray about that. Don't complain about God. Instead, take your complaints to God and he will listen to you. We can be honest with him. He's not going to blast us. He didn't blast Habakkuk. Now, if you totally don't believe, as we heard this morning, he who doesn't believe is condemned already. Continue to believe in God. Take him your doubts, he'll answer them. Take him your questions, he'll answer them. Pray through the silence. So there, I've set this message up for now. And we will continue later on next time I speak by looking at the answer that God gives to Habakkuk. It's not exactly the one he's looking for. And the answer that you receive from God may be not exactly the one that you're looking for, but he will answer. He is not silent forever. He will show us the way.